Welcome to episode 42 of Winning with the Home Team. Today we have special guests, Mr. TJ Lewis. Hey, TJ.
Howdy.
I love your pink.
Thanks.
It's still raining in Texas in regards to our soccer season. In a matter of about a week and a half, I think we'll play just over 35 games with all the makeups that we're doing. So we're gonna get in literally a half of a season in less than a week and a half with all the makeups, and it'll be good. Speaking of, man, we have some excellent coaches. Our coach of the week this week goes to none other than Mr. Kyle Stark. Kyle Stark is an assistant for the Talons. Man, he also helps me at 7:15 in the morning every Saturday morning. He helps me set up. He helps me take down the tents and all of the soccer equipment. And then we also get to pray as a group. And so, Kyle, great job. Thank you so much for your help and all that you do for this soccer league and also for the kids. You are this week's Coach of the Week, sponsored by Exquisite Lawns. Hey, if you guys are looking for quality landscaping and irrigation, contact Derek Hicks. He's the owner. He's done a great job with corresponding with me and handling all of the reschedules and the rainouts and the mowing and all the things. If you have any landscaping or irrigation needs, he's great to work with. So contact Derek at exquisitelawns.com.
Yeah, and our player of the week is Team Bluey's own Libby Herta.
Yep.
Talk about teamwork. We stress that on this podcast all the time, and Libby definitely lives up to that. Her coach talks about just her hard work, her endless energy, but more importantly, the support she always is quick to give to her teammates. Libby, just an incredible job this week, and you should be very proud that your coach honored you, and you have been selected as our Lionheart Player of the Week. Lionheart, if you guys are looking for childcare in the area and you're looking for faith-based childcare, look no further than Lionheart. They are a Christ-centered facility organization, and they are looking forward to speaking with you about your childcare needs. Check them out at lionheartkid.org. Today, go look at them.
All right. Well, like we said, this is episode 42, and we've got none other than the one and only our youth pastor, TJ Lewis. Before we get into all things regarding student ministry and as it applies to extracurricular activities, just wanted to give a shout out to Bingo and Bluey this past Saturday. They had their matchup of the season. This is our pre-K division. We've got 6 teams, and 2 of those teams are Bluey and Bingo. And the way that we pick names in our soccer division is we just ask the coaches, hey, what do you want your team name to be? And if you have a 4 or 5-year-old or even a 3-year-old, you know that they likely have watched Bluey somewhere along the line. And so when we got a request for a team name to be Bluey, I knew that we had to have another one that was Bingo. And so they squared off this Saturday, and it was a great match. Bluey's mom and dad were not there, and so they did whatever they wanted, and it was great. So I just wanted to give that shout out. Also, Whataburger, if you're listening, the Bingo jerseys, really, I've had more compliments on the Bingo jersey and people asking me, are you sponsored by Whataburger? Because that's what the Bingo jersey looks like.
Well, in that case, I need one. That's phenomenal. I hadn't seen them yet. Awesome.
Yep. So, TJ, thanks for joining us.
Sure. Glad to be here.
TJ is, he's been in student ministry for 25 years. He is a connoisseur of movies. You write movie reviews.
Yeah.
And also you write reviews about nachos.
I do. Yeah,
So
I do.
you've been around the Metroplex a time or two, and you make it a point to get the nachos at a concession stand, and you do a review.
Yeah.
So
That was born out of I legitimately attend around 100 student events
Yeah.
every year.
mhm.
Probably going to break that record wide open this year. But while I'm sitting in the stands, various sports have, various levels of activity and how actively I'm engaged. I'm super ADD. You guys know that I need something to do, and I also like to eat. So I thought, like I'm eating a lot of nachos, and started mentally thinking about who's got the best ones, and I bet other people would care about. And sure enough, other people care dearly. Like I get asked. Two things I get asked all the time by parents, like, "Hey, what are the nachos like before we spend our money on here?"
Yeah.
But then there's a handful of stadiums I've walked up and I've like, "Are you the nacho guy?" Like we heard, like,
Nice.
Oh my
you're
gosh.
it's like, okay, cool.
Nice.
This is
That's
like rolling
funny.
with me. So
Yeah.
So where can people find your reviews?
so just on my Facebook page.
Yeah.
Okay. All
And,
right.
and truthfully, I haven't done one in a little while. I try really hard. Like if I've already been there, I'm not going to keep
Yeah.
coming back to that
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And thankfully, after so many years here and a lot of different like I've been to a lot of stadiums, so I'm
Yeah.
looking for new places to
Yeah.
fish,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So 2 questions regarding those, and you can be honest.
Sure.
What is your what ranks as the number 1 nacho concession stand place?
best nachos I've still had, and this is like I've even done it long enough. Like we divided up by season, so I have season 1 of it's called Youth Pastor Eats.
What season are
um,
you on right now?
Season 5.
Okay. Okay.
So season 1, I went to Handley Stadium over in Fort Worth.
Mm.
And it was on the visitor side. It was visitor side nachos, or they're not bringing out the goods,
Right. Yeah.
But they had a young lady that was back there, and it was fun to watch her. She was meticulously making sure that the cheese to chili ratio was
That's
perfect.
so important.
It was super fun watching her, and I thought like these are going to be great. And sure enough, like still to this day, just excellent nachos, just perfect. And then anytime I go to an FFA event, they're always going to have the goods. Like that's almost not even fair,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
fresh everything,
Yeah.
So yeah, those are always two wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the second question I have is, where does the LC's basketball nachos? Where do we compare?
You know what? That's fun. I've done a couple of LC nacho review. In fact, I will do one every year for y'all.
Yeah.
Now we cheat a little bit because I just walk back there and make them myself.
Yeah.
Because I can, right?
Right.
But it's we use the right cheese. We're using all Texas product, which is important.
Okay, there
that
you
does
go.
come into the equation.
There you go.
And so the LC nachos are always killer. In fact, when I wrap up my shift on basketball weekends, that's usually where I go hook myself up with some nachos.
Nice.
And then hang out with whoever we've got working
Yeah.
in. We have
Yeah.
some cool volunteers at the church, and
Yeah.
love just seeing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's little kids and their families.
Yeah.
So hey, are these good? And
Yeah.
it's fun messing with them.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Have you ever walked away from a nacho experience and thought, I have to go right now to Facebook because this was a terrible experience, and let everyone know?
So I try super hard not to be just crazy negative, but
Yeah.
there's plenty of times where I man, this was not good.
Okay. All right.
And more so, review the nachos. But what I really love to do is emphasize, man, I saw this in the stands. I saw like this school is super neat because they have this tradition or
Yeah.
whatever,
Right.
right? And so
Yeah.
that's where it gets fun.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe even interactions with some of the employees.
Yeah.
It was at Birdville High School. Some of the most kind people I'd ever interacted with. I'd forgotten my credit card that day. And so I walked in, and obviously there's no just, can run to the house and get it. I'm in
Yeah.
Birdville.
Right.
And,
Right.
and so this lady kind of saw me, and she said, "Sir, are you okay?" And I said, "Well, I'm a youth pastor and came to watch my student, and I forgot my wallet." She, "Oh, honey, come over here, and don't you worry about it. We're going to let you, you're a youth pastor. And
Yeah.
man, let's talk about the Lord." That was super
Yeah.
neat.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And but it's so funny on her own. She, "Would you like some nachos?"
Nice.
As a matter of fact, I would. And so then I was like,
Nice.
I do this thing
Yeah.
called youth. Well, would you do a nacho? I'm doing
Yeah.
a nacho
Yeah.
review on y'all, but I'm
That's
not talking
cool.
about the nachos. I'm talking about
Yeah.
how cool y'all were.
Yeah.
Well, some of my buddies that are the youth pastors turned out this lady was a member of her church. And
Our church?
no. Sorry.
Oh, their
this
church.
lady was a
Okay.
member of one of my buddies'
Yeah.
church. And so he saw my review. Well, he obviously went to her, but he took that to their pastor too.
Mhm.
Like, man, let me show you what like our church members are doing
Yeah.
in real time.
Yeah.
Doesn't always play at that, but yeah,
Right.
just want it to be
Yeah.
like a thing of encouragement.
Right.
That's cool.
That's really
Yeah.
it's what we're all
I love
about
that.
around here, right?
Yeah.
Sports and
Yeah.
encouraging and just
Yep.
using our mouth properly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, if I get some good food, that's a win.
That's
but if I
awesome.
can
Yeah.
bless some people, that's really what I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the students, the ones that know what I'm doing, they think it's kind of flex. They
Right.
they brag. Oh, our school's got the best nachos.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
That is fun.
Well, those of you that don't know, or maybe you're involved in our basketball league, we could not do our basketball league without TJ.
Correct.
I would say for the past at least 4 years, you guys the student ministry has taken a location. Usually it's, it's been different places. It's been ABU, and then it's been Young Junior High, and then it's been Oak Ridge. You guys have kind of moved everywhere. But the student ministry takes the concession stand all season long. That's 8 weeks, 8 Saturday mornings. And they man the concession stand. And so,
we call it sugar dealing, which is a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
we're gonna go be sugar dealers for Jesus.
and you guys do a great job.
Great job with it. Yeah.
So thank you. Well, TJ, one of the reasons why we have a ton of reasons why we wanted to ask you on, but in relation to youth sports, you mentioned you travel all around the Metroplex, with your nacho review, and you've gone to tons and tons and tons of student activities, extracurriculars, right?
Yeah.
In the past 7 days, how many student activities have you been to?
Last week I went to 16.
16.
Yes.
I have. Can I just say?
Yeah.
I have 2 kids. I went to 2. Yeah.
It's end of school year. That's highly unusual.
Right.
Yeah.
My daughter had a play also,
Okay.
and so that
All right.
added
Right.
to the fray a little bit. But
Right.
yeah, it's just part of it right now.
Yeah.
Is just one of my goals that I make for myself is I want to see every single one of our
Yes,
students
that's-
do their thing, whatever that
Right.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's a gauntlet of stuff. Like I went to a chess match one time because that's what that kid does.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right?
wow. Did they have
So-
nachos there?
They did not. There was no
Oh.
nachos at chess, and also you're not allowed to like yell at a chess
can't
match.
cheer.
I learned,
Yeah,
there's not.
yeah.
I was like, "Hey, good move," and they're like,
Right, yeah.
we don't do that. Oh, okay, sorry, my bad. I've never been here before.
Was there a concession stand at all?
No. But anyway, the goal is to see every single one of our
Yeah.
students do
Yeah.
their thing. Praise God, like our group keeps growing, so that
Yeah.
Yeah.
task gets a little more monumental.
Right.
But several of our students I saw last week, like it was their thing, and it only happens once a year. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I got
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we killed ourselves a
Yeah.
little bit last week, but
Yeah.
it was worth it.
And why is that important to you?
Because I so desperately want our kids to know and love and serve Jesus. And I know that my role is to come alongside parents and help train their kids do that. By and large, most of our students, they have no reason to listen to me if they don't believe that I care about them. So I get to interact with them on Sundays and Wednesdays, obviously, which sometimes that's just, 2 minutes
Yeah.
because there's 110
Right.
Yeah.
kids in the room.
Yeah.
And so if I can take another hour or two in my week and go watch them and whatever that is, and genuinely cheer them on, whether
Yeah.
it's something I understand or not, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's genuinely like, hey, like I never played whatever. Like walk me through. Like here, I was watching you do this. I don't like what does this mean? And
Yeah.
kids get excited. Most of the time, again, kids get excited to explain to me, okay,
Yeah.
my coach taught me how to do this thing, right?
Yeah.
And so that opens up avenues. And most of the time, that kid, when they walk into the loft the next time for youth group, I can just see it. Okay, they're a little bit more ready to listen
Yep.
and learn.
Yep.
And so it's not like, again, and it's not just, hey, I want you to come to youth group, so I'm going to come to your thing. I genuinely care about that kid and how I can express that. But that's the fruit that comes from that labor.
Yeah.
Is they're more willing to listen, they're more willing to garner whatever the scriptures are saying to us this week. And then hopefully we see them grow from that. But that's the goal.
And can I answer that question from a parent's perspective?
Yeah.
Because, man, I mean, our children have been in a youth group where the youth pastor didn't even know their name. And TJ and what he does, it's not, I mean, this dovetails really well with what we've talked about as far as the encouragement aspect for kids and, and all of that kind of stuff. But I think more importantly, as a parent, it builds trust. It builds trust with the parents and the kids. If TJ goes to one of my kiddos' games and I'm not there, which has happened, and he calls me and says, "Hey, I'm taking Cy and we're going to go to San Antonio for a couple days. We'll be back." I'd be like, "All right, cool."
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of trust that he has developed with our family.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about going to see their game. It's about building a relationship
Right.
with the kids that you do. And I know my kids and all of the people that we talk to that have kids in our kids group, they just respect the fact that an adult that doesn't have any skin in the game otherwise just pours into them and loves them. And that is earth shattering to a young person to say, why does this person love me so much? And he is asking nothing of me, but yet he shows up at a game or a practice or whatever it is. And it's just, man, it dovetails so well with what it is that we've talked about just pouring in positivity into these kids and that they matter. And it's not just how they perform, but just the fact that they perform at all and you love on them. And I just, as a parent, it makes me want to send my kids to church on Sunday morning. It makes me want to send my kids on Wednesday night because I know that they're going to be loved by somebody who actually does care about them genuinely.
Yeah.
It's
And
a cool
and
time for
too
me to connect with parents too.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm usually sitting with mom and dad because
Yeah.
again, sometimes I get to spend even less time with them.
Right.
Yes.
Funny enough, sometimes you can tell, oh, we have to act different because pastor's here, right? It's not always true,
I bet.
but it gives me further insight to that son and daughter's life. Here's what's going on, and sometimes they'll just open the book for me, and sometimes I can ask pointed questions. But yeah, there's a lot of fruit that can come from that. It's not just about the nachos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and two, we've talked about over and over about just how important it is to show up, period. Just showing up matters
Yeah.
and speaks volumes.
Yeah.
So,
It really does.
TJ, you really are the best youth pastor I've ever met.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank
Agreed.
you.
So,
Agreed.
It's really kind.
and so you came from Arizona, right? You're in a
Yeah.
church from Arizona.
Yep.
And then you moved back to the place where your heart most belongs.
No doubt. Yeah.
And I say that in the context of you are a huge Ranger fan, right? And so that really, I mean, Jesus, Becca, your family, and then Rangers. Is that right?
Well, it's state of Texas.
State of Texas.
But then the Rangers are right there, and so yeah.
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 I remember a couple of times when you were still transitioning from being a youth pastor in Arizona to the DFW area. You said several times, man, they're just busier here.
They are.
Talk about what you meant by that. Because, I mean, we live in the Metroplex, right? And so we know the culture of the Metroplex is go, 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 go. And by and large, that's true for America in general. But how are things different in Arizona? And then as you moved to Texas, what did you see differently?
Sure. So one of the interesting things specifically where we lived in Arizona, Sierra Vista was where we were at. Sierra Vista is the home of Fort Huachuca. So it's a military community, which brings its own little like life processes, right? So by and large, almost all the students that I were pastoring were either Army brats or they were Border Patrol kids.
Yeah.
Everybody in Arizona had a gun. It was pretty kind of fun,
Yeah.
right? And praise God, a lot of them like transplanted from Texas out there, so I was able to fit in well. But because it was a community of about 45,000, so that alone just levels the game, right?
Yeah.
But number two, because they're military families, it's not even that they were very strict. Like that wasn't necessarily that, but just everything was just, hey, we do this in this time frame, and then that's it.
Right.
That's just
just
and we move on to the next thing, you know. And
There were
so
rhythms.
very
There were
much
scheduled
rhythmed.
rhythms to their lives.
And for a lot of those kids, sports, it's like they enjoyed sports, but sports wasn't the end all be all of anything. Interesting enough, and you've probably seen this. It's probably true in police work too. You know, a lot of military brats end up going back into the military. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And so even random, like, no, I want to do this. And so that's the goal. So I'll play some sports genuinely just for fun.
Yeah.
Like I kind of already have my trajectory in life.
Right.
And so it just changed the perspective. And so again, not completely, but folks in the stand were just a lot more chill. Hey, it's a football game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, this is going to be fun, but if we lose, who cares?
Yeah.
Do you feel like
But-
that's healthier?
In some ways, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I am a big sports fan, so I don't necessarily want people sitting on their hands doing nothing.
Right.
And I definitely don't want parents just, oh yeah, hey,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
good
On their
job,
phone.
and
Yeah.
just not paying attention at
Right,
all. And
right.
thankfully,
Yeah.
that doesn't happen most of the time.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't like, and the older I get, the more I get kind of grossed out by this, just screaming and hollering
Yeah.
and just, you know, man, I want to murder the ref and anybody else that
Yeah.
didn't do my baby right.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, and that's some of what we're seeing now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a different world, and I think most of that was painted just because it was a military culture.
Right.
So I didn't get to hang out a lot in other parts of Arizona. So I'd be curious to see how that played
Yeah.
out.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, again, you went to you said 16 events,
16, yes,
16
yes, ma'am.
events last week.
Yeah.
They ranged from plays to
Mhm.
ball games.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about you've seen a lot of different sports. You mentioned a chess match.
Mhm.
What are the differences that you've seen in relation to how coaches, spectators, even players, like the differences in the overall vibe of the match or the performance?
I was thinking, you asked me that yesterday. It is fun to see, and I don't know if it's just because of the nature of the sport or the culture behind the sport. The most vociferous parents are football and basketball,
Mhm.
like just by a mile.
Mhm.
Um, and coaches too, for that matter too. I was even thinking about some of my high school coach. I'll never forget. I can still hear my high school basketball coach. He would stomp. You know, that's how he would get our attention. You know,
Yeah.
none of my baseball coaches were ever that way. I mean, they would holler some, but not really.
Yeah.
Um, and part of it too, baseball by nature, it's a quieter game. So
Yeah.
when someone is hollering, it sticks out more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everybody's hollering a football
Right.
game,
Yeah.
so you can say some crazy stuff and
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe get away
It
with
blends
it.
Yeah.
in.
Not at a baseball game, man.
Yeah.
Even less so at a softball
Yeah.
game or a soccer match. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
You know, I was laughing. Our great friend David Bayet
Uh-huh.
started that ministry, No Mas Valencia,
Uh-huh,
and it
uh-huh.
revolved around
Yeah.
violence at soccer games.
Mhm.
And that just that's I can't even wrap my head around that, because every soccer game I go to, most of the crowd looks like they want to be anywhere else but there. You know, again,
Yeah.
not everybody. There's some
Yeah.
parents that are super invested, but
Right.
it's you know, and I hear people almost, not even almost, verbally saying like, "Hey, is this almost over?" Not like little brothers and sisters. That's
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
but even some parents like, "Dude, seriously, is this almost over?"
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And it doesn't help, and you know, the school doesn't turn the clock on, so you really have no
Yeah.
idea what's going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
I know y'all talked about that last week, not
Yeah.
having a clock and a scoreboard.
Right.
There's some advantages to that. There's also some downsides to
Yeah.
that, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, the craziest, for lack of a better phrase, is football and basketball.
Mhm.
Why do you
And then
think
it
that
starts to-
is?
Well, part of it, just the nature of football, right? It's literally a smash mouth sport, and I
Yeah.
can get caught up in the I hit him in the mouth,
Yeah,
right? You know, it's
right.
just there's a little bit of that. And then you know, we've got kids that are in jujitsu and wrestling,
Yeah.
and
How
so
are those?
really, those are pretty intense. Our two young ladies, we have two young ladies in the group that are legitimately, one in particular, she's like ranked number 2 in the world at jujitsu in her age and weight class. And so you go to hers, and it's like going to a UFC match. Like they have walkout music and pyro, and
Really?
it's
Pyro?
it's
Wow.
amazing. Yeah, not
Yeah.
all of her meets are like that, but some
Yeah.
of them are. You know, and they
Wow.
travel all over the world. So
Yeah.
she's done stuff in Vegas and Florida.
Yeah.
But there's one that they do in Fort Worth that I get to go to, and
That's
sure enough, they
cool.
walk out and there's lasers and pyro and
Yeah.
her
We need to
walkout music.
invest in that for basketball season.
Man.
It's fun. So, but anyway, when you hype it like that,
Yeah.
yeah, people are going to be
Sure.
hollering, and I'm kind of
Yeah.
hollering too,
Yeah.
right? Wrestling's that way. Interesting about a wrestling match, it's never just one match. There's like 6 going, and so you've got people, usually an arena, yelling in all different
Yeah.
directions. So
Yeah.
the kid has no idea unless they can hear their parent's voice,
Yeah.
and
Right.
every
Yeah.
kid can hear their parent's voice.
Yeah.
They really don't know who's
Yeah.
hollering for at
Right.
them, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just the nature of the sport can change that dichotomy. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have people yelling at a golf match
Right.
much.
Yeah.
Tennis is usually pretty chill.
Mhm.
In fact, I've had people look at me when I've hollered for, like, Brighton used to play tennis. Brighton was a crazy tennis player. It was so fun
Yeah.
watching her.
Yeah.
I got reprimanded by her for encouraging her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You don't-
Brighton didn't
apparently you don't
necessarily
cheer
like
in
it either,
tennis.
but there was a
Yeah.
couple like, "Hey, good shot," and like even though the
Mm-mm.
parent were like,
Mm-mm.
"Again, we just no."
Yeah.
But then the goofy pickleballers want to yell at each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, like
Yeah.
you can't yell at tennis, but you can yell at tennis. No, that didn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, the nature of the sport affects it, but
Yeah.
football by far, and then basketball's not far behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah,
Um,
you maintain basketball as the toughest one because you're indoors and everything.
Okay,
is-
and so this is interesting what TJ is saying, because as I was thinking about this, I was thinking about our upcoming flag football league,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
And what we've known in the past is soccer is I guess the less demanding of
Yeah.
an overall, what was that F word that you used?
Vociferous.
Vociferous.
Yeah.
I don't
You
think
know
that's
I don't know that
It's a
word.
V word,
V,
but
no,
yes.
that's-
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Vociferous.
Yeah.
Vociferous.
Yeah.
I don't even know where I was going with that.
Good.
Flag
But
football season.
yeah, so I wonder how our crowd and our vibe will be for flag football
Yeah,
if it matches the same,
Right.
culturally.
Because we're not actually hitting people, I think that does make a difference.
I would hope
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're
But I think I maintain that just being outside makes a difference,
Mhm.
I
right?
agree. Yeah.
And so I wonder how that will translate for flag football.
Yeah.
And I'll say too, your community makes a difference too. There are a handful of schools that I don't like going to.
So
Just
can I ask
because
this
of-
question?
Uh-huh.
Is that you don't have to mention the school, but
No,
is
I
it
don't wanna
more
do
is
that.
it more of a public school vibe, private school vibe, charter vibe? Like, what is
There's-
there a difference there in the three?
Most of the time it's public schools. There's a couple of private schools. If they're playing another particular private school,
Uh-huh.
it can get a little crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
So-
can see
Gotcha.
that.
But yeah, there are for sure three public schools that if I go to that, or if I'm just going to a game where that team is playing, I know it's certainly on the football field, but even on the basketball court, it's going to get nasty.
Yeah.
Mm.
Both because of what's going on in the stands, and also they've sort of established this culture in the teams. We're going to bend the rules and
Mhm.
talk a lot of trash, and
Yeah.
they just feed off each other,
Yeah.
no
Right.
doubt.
Which is why it's so important, you mentioned before, it's just to be a form of encouragement. I mean, I think, I want to believe, no, I don't believe, the Bible says there's not one of us that are good. No, not one. Right. But like, I mean, if we go out there as Christ followers who are trying to do the right thing, I would hope that at some level, the way that we're acting as Jesus followers in the right way, would spur other, at least believers, on to do the same.
Right.
And I think this is what this podcast is all about: is how do we use youth sports as an avenue to share the gospel, and not just completely get obsessive about youth sports in a way that just ruins a family.
Sure. Can I read you a passage that I was thinking about this morning?
Yeah.
Okay, so Proverbs 18:21. So Proverbs is always good for wisdom, right? But it says this: death and life are in the power of the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, okay, cool.
Yep.
James talks about the same thing.
Mhm.
But here's the kicker, and this is what caught me off guard. And I was even thinking about my own kids. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit.
Mhm.
Now, here's what I'm kicking around. Those who love it. So, okay, well, who love the tongue. What are we talking about? Specifically, those who love the tongue of the speaker
Mhm.
are going to eat its fruit.
Mm.
So watch this. Here's what I've caught. I've got 3 kids. My daughter is a total theater kid now. She tries everything, but that is where she has landed,
Yeah.
which is awesome. My boys, they don't do anything. They are homebodies to the end. Really great gamers.
Yeah.
Youngest
yeah.
is way into WWE, which is a
Right.
whole other
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
And so I don't get to do a lot of, like, you're not hollering at theater. I don't
Yeah.
get to do a
Right.
lot of the cheering
Yeah.
from the stands. I do it on the sidelines. Where my kids do hear me talk though a lot is when I'm driving them around.
Mm-hmm.
I realized something that they've started to drive now. They do what Daddy does, and I holler at other drivers. Y'all probably never done that, right? Just again, living in the
Never.
I'm
metroplex
wouldn't
trying
know
to
what
life.
that
picture. I'm
looks
trying
like.
to picture you in a road rage scenario.
It's not even
Like,
necessarily.
do you bless
like,
them
"Oh,
as a
you're-
part of your
you're-
rage?
And
Yeah.
I'm grumbling and frustrated because it's this constant traffic jam. And
Yeah.
you do know this about me. Like, I don't do anything slow. I
Mhm.
get where
Yeah.
I'm going.
Yeah.
And I want to get there, and I want to be
Yeah.
on time, and
Yeah.
that doesn't
Yeah.
play out on the road, and
Right.
so
Yeah.
inevitably I'm just grumbling. My kids have started doing that. When it says that those who love the tongue will eat its fruit, literally they are experiencing the fruit of my tongue
Yeah.
Mhm.
and consuming that, and now they're doing the same thing.
Right. Right.
So, like at some of those schools where I'm telling you, when
Mhm.
the parents are hollering, man, okay, mom and dad are in the yelling stand. I'm going to yell stand too.
Mm-hmm.
You're yelling at the ref. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
yell at the ref too. And like I said, these things,
Yeah.
like, it's logical. It makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yep.
But this is what the scriptures say. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't
Right.
just happen that
Right.
way. This is
Yeah.
what the truth of the Lord says. And so we've got to be really conscious of whether you're in the stand or in the theater or in the
Yeah.
car,
Yeah.
and your kids are listening. And
Yeah.
because they love you, they're going to follow your lead.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Whatever
that's
that looks
true.
like.
Yeah.
It's really kind of, I don't want to say earth shattering, but it's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so
Yeah.
true. You know, as a youth pastor for 25 years, TJ, I'm sure that, you know, you have processed with teenagers some of the pressures that they have experienced. How have those pressures changed in the last 5 or 10 years? Like, what are kids going through right now that maybe they weren't going through 10 years ago?
It is amazing to me how many of them are trying to get to the next level. And I don't even necessarily mean
Mm.
like I want to make D1. I have to take all these AP classes
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
so I
Yeah.
can get stuff done faster, so I
Yeah.
can get to college
Yes.
sooner.
So that I can graduate sooner. So
Right.
that I can, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, we've got a couple of young ladies that have graduated at 17. We've had one that she was 16 when she graduated. Like, I'm not sending a 16-year-old to anywhere, including my beloved Aggie land. Like, they're
Mhm.
just not ready for that, right? Okay, if you want to go do some college class, but even still, like what's the rush and getting the next thing? Now, I do want them to grow up, and that's the
Mhm.
tension there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't want kids being babies forever, but
Mhm.
also I'm not necessarily ready to fling them out into this world that is not kind
Mhm.
by
Yeah.
and large.
Yeah.
But there is a pressure to not just succeed, but to get there faster and a higher level. And if I can stack up however many credits
Yeah.
that translate into sports, I've got to
Mhm.
have so many trophies and so many rings, and I need to make
Mhm.
this team. And then now in order to make the varsity team, I've got to go join the
Mhm.
travel ball team or the
Mhm.
Diamond Club or whatever that
Mhm.
is.
Mhm.
And Dad, don't you know if it, like there's no way, like Coach has said, I can't be on varsity if I don't do this thing,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
which I don't think's true,
Mhm.
but that's what
Mhm.
we've built
Right.
into our society right
Right.
now. And so there's just this constant pressure, and this is not a new thing. But because of social media and the internet, and dare I even say, because we live where we live in the Metroplex, the pressure is harsher.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because the competition is real.
Mhm.
There's no doubt about that, and
Yeah.
they feel it.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And in some cases, kids on when they're really tired, they'll admit this. I don't even like this thing anymore,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but I know I've got to do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're not talking about algebra; they're talking
Yeah.
about stuff that's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
You know, and I think that translate May is mental health month, right? I think that translates, you know, as the more and more that you are pressured to go to the next level and then the next level and the next level faster and sooner and quicker. I mean, that translate into your adult life as well. Like, you're not making enough money, or you're not in the right position, or you want to be promoted higher, or you know, you reached your sales goal and you got an award for it, and so now next year more money, you know, and it never ends.
Yeah.
And I mean, Todd, you know more about this than I do as far as mental health. Those pressures can be debilitating. And you know, I wonder, you know, I'm sure this is the case. This is why that we have one of the reasons why we have such a mental health problem is because the pressures of just trying to perform higher and higher and higher and higher.
Yeah. The concern for people is, okay, what happens if I disengage?
Mm.
From just talking about youth and youth sports. If I'm 12 years old and I don't play on that travel ball team and all my friends do,
Mm-hmm.
if I disengage so that I can enjoy my
Mhm.
family vacation and I can go to church camp and I can go do all the things
Mhm.
that really need to happen, what am I losing out on?
Yeah. FOMO.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so we all do that, you know. I've watched my kids do it, and now looking back on it,
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, no, I can't believe I fell into
Mhm.
that trap with my
Mhm.
kids. And but like you said, even as adults,
Mhm.
I've got to get the next promotion, I've got to get the next position, I've
Mhm.
got to be able to do this and that. And there are times when, you know, even now, I have conversations with my kids all the time now, the ones that are still at home, about relax. Like,
Mhm.
it's not that big a deal,
Mhm.
you know? Like, it's really not.
Mhm.
You dropped a ground ball in a random game on a Tuesday night, uh, the sun will come up tomorrow, and I think if it's hard enough to convince our adults that the sun is going to come up tomorrow, like you're talking about with your kids, that, they're regurgitating things they hear you say or they're going to follow that too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if mom and dad are showing the effects of these pressures, then they're going to also do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they see mom and dad, working all the time, I mean, I know that I can be guilty of this at some level
Yeah.
too. I think that we all can.
Yeah.
I mean, they catch on to these things.
Yeah.
And they too, like you said, TJ, can mimic exactly what we do.
You know what's funny though is it works in the inverse as well.
Praise the Lord, it does.
Because when we sit around the table and share a meal as a family, that works. Just was it yesterday or the day before? So I've been sick, right? And one day, a couple days actually, in the middle of the night, I'm coughing so much. Like I got out of bed and I went to the couch just because I don't want to wake my wife up. And it was last night. Colin, my 17-year-old, goes, "Dad, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" He goes, "You were in the living room and you weren't in bed with mom all night. Like, I just want to make sure you're okay." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." And I'm just trying to think of her, but I thought to myself, it's good that my kid at 17 years old realizes that's not right, that my dad is not in bed with my mom all night, And so, it works in the reverse, that our kids are able to see things that we do, whether it be with our spouses or how we handle our jobs or just pressure in general, stress. And they can see that and go, you know what, things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
Prayer. My dad will get on his knees and pray. And because I see that it works, then maybe that's not such a bad thing for me to listen to. I know you see more of that than anybody.
Yeah. That's good. I think ultimately it comes down to an identity piece. Like, are we placing our identity in things that will just soon pass? A job, a sport, a performance, or are we placing our identity with our relationship with God? I think that ultimately is the question that we have to go back to every single moment of all the decisions that we make.
Yeah.
Is what's important here? Like, is it important that we sign up for that club team? It might be. It could be. Is it important that I work that extra hour or 2 hours or 3 hours and miss dinner or miss my kid's game? All of those things have to be evaluated in the context of our relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
Because only that lasts. Only that lasts.
Right.
Sports teams will dissipate. You'll graduate from high school or college. You'll move up to the next level. You may get a promotion or a demotion to some extent. But ultimately, our relationship with Jesus is the one that's supposed to guide us. And I think that's the only way that you can truly win with your family.
Yeah, agree.
One of the things I try really hard to communicate both to our students and to our parents, if we really believe God is who we say he is, that he's sovereign and he's our provider, he's the one who's genuinely making a way for us in all ways, then that means that, I'm going to do my best, and I want my kids to use their talents, whatever they are, whether on the field or, music or whatever, and again, my boys' case, we're still figuring out what it is that they're going to go after. But if God is not only my provider as their parent, God's going to be the provider of my kids too, then he's going to be the one who opens those doors, and not however many times we pound the sand to make it work, to get my kid on that team. Yeah. The Lord's the one who's open. In his sovereignty, he's the one who opens those doors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just really trust that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if y'all got to watch, I sent it to you in the middle of the night. You know what Colt McCoy is?
Yeah, I saw it.
So the
was so good.
winningest college quarterback in NCAA history. Can't stand the Longhorns, but I like Colt. He's from Jim Ned, Texas, so just down the road from where I grew up in Anson. And it's Jim Ned's a little bitty school, so it works different. But Colt talked about the fact, and he said, dude, I didn't play any Pop Warner, any of that stuff. Like,
I started in 7th grade.
Yeah, started in 7th grade, went on, got a full ride to UTAs, won more games, not UTA, sorry, UT.
Yeah.
Won more games than any other college player in history. Of course, got drafted and one of the pros. But he talked about the fact, and he said, "You're crazy." He lives in the Metroplex. You're
Yeah.
crazy if you think I'm driving my kids every single where. I want to spend time with them in the park.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
to spend time with them at the table.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that like that carries some weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guy that
Yeah.
went to the pinnacle, did it all,
Right.
Yeah.
and knows what matters.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for voices like
Yes.
that. And it's not just, it's easy for me to go, parents, you shouldn't do this. And somebody goes, well, you
Right,
didn't make
right.
it. You didn't make
Yeah.
it, D.
Right.
Rowan.
Mhm.
Right.
And you're right.
Yeah.
But that guy did,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
And you're hearing more and more voices like his these days.
Yep.
I mean, if you go on social media alone, and social media, that's a whole different discussion.
Sure.
But there
You
are
find what you're looking for.
exactly.
Yeah.
But there are beginning to be more and more voices like Colt McCoy's of people who have made it that say this is not the path.
Yeah.
Stop doing it this
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, TJ, in closing, what would you say? What advice would you give to families? Like, how could families win at home? Win with their home team?
I'd say that again, man. Truly remember who Jesus is.
Mm-hmm.
He's the king of the universe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he really is. It's not just lip service. He really is number one. Whether we treat him whether number one or not,
Yeah.
he's still number one. But we ought to treat him as number one.
Right.
And so you get those priorities right, trusting that, okay, Lord, I'm going to do what you've told me to do,
Yeah.
and trusting that you're going to provide again, not only for me, you're going to provide for my
Mhm.
kids. You're going to open the doors that they
Mhm.
need to go in, because I
Yeah.
know you. And this is where it gets right. Jesus, I know you really have a better plan for my kids' life than I do.
Yeah.
I know I've got hopes and dreams and all this
Yep.
stuff. And I'm not saying those things are illegitimate,
Mm-hmm.
because God can put those dreams in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Jesus, you're the one that's going to do this for me.
Yeah.
And not just for me. Actually, probably ought to get that. You're going to do this for my kid.
Yeah.
So help me not only believe that and follow that, but help me to continue to speak that to my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when they're feeling that pressure,
Mm-hmm.
because they are. And so remind them, man,
Mhm.
okay, you lost.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Jesus is still king.
Yeah.
And it's not just a flippant, and that's where we got, okay, yeah, Dad, I know. And sometimes they're going to respond because they're
Yeah.
teenagers.
Yeah.
No, son, I really believe that with
Right.
all my heart. Little girl, man, I love you so much,
Mhm.
and I'm sorry it was a bad game or bad play or
Mhm.
bad whatever. But Jesus is still king. Jesus is still our provider.
Mhm.
He's the one that's going to make a way for you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you need to be able to lay your head in the pillow tonight and just know, like, it's okay.
Yeah.
By the way, Jesus not upset with you because you dropped that fly
Mhm.
ball.
Right.
So
Like he
important.
didn't go, oh, come
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
I've taught
Yeah.
you better than that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he, the sovereign Lord of the universe would never do some of the things that we as maybe we don't even know, maybe as parents feel at.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He doesn't feel those things,
Right.
Mhm.
which is crazy. And that's okay. God, you got a lot of work to do, because I want to be a good parent, but man, like
Yeah.
I just, yeah, it's not that he didn't care. I think he's up in the stands, so to speak, cheering them on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Love seeing my kids do. Not only we go, man, I love my kids sing to me in church. He does, but I also really believe he loves on Saturdays. He loves watching those little kids, the blueies and the bingos, run up and down
Yeah.
the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loves
Yeah.
kids enjoying the
Mhm.
creation he's given us,
Right.
including something like, and I don't give a hoot about soccer, but he
Mhm.
does,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's so cool,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we got to keep emphasizing and believe that, man. Jesus really
Mm-hmm.
is the best. He's over everything.
Right.
And let's approach life in that
Mhm.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Awesome.
TJ, we mentioned that you are a very busy man. You're probably one of the hardest working people at this church. You've gone to 16 events in the past week. Practically, how do you win with your family?
So one of the things I do, praise God, my kids, they've been in youth ministry with me their whole lives. They kind of know how it works. It's been a lot more fun now that they're in the youth group. So I've got a 17-year-old,
Mhm.
20,
Yeah.
15-year-olds. When it's one of their friends that I'm going to watch, I'll go, hey, I'm going to go watch Colin play ball.
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
to go watch Colin?
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
sometimes, I don't know, Dad. And
Yeah.
I don't make them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I do. But we went to go watch a play over at Young Junior High. So Zion, hey,
Mhm.
Zion, Draco's in a play today. Dad, I want to go watch Draco. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm cheering on that kid, but I'm doing something with my kid too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like it's possible to like just pull it all off at once.
Mhm.
Right.
Doesn't always play out that way. Again, Cadence is usually game to go to whatever because she just
Yeah.
doesn't like being at home. She's wired like I am.
Yeah.
So okay, you're gonna go watch a chess match. Okay,
Yeah.
that's better than being home with my brothers. You know, it's just
That's
so
funny. Yeah.
she rolls with me a lot.
Yeah.
But that's fun. But yeah, that's one of the big deals. Becca more and more has gotten to where she likes jumping in. And we're starting to think about, the end game. Like Hanson graduates next year. Twins are here in another 3 years. They're out of the youth group. And part of it's kind of exciting. Like, hey, it's going to be me and you again, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go down to wherever. Okay, kids got a game down in San Antonio. Let's go to San Antonio, watch a baseball game,
Right.
and do whatever else. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, finding ways to. We were all at the concert last night together, just sitting and enjoying that together. And I'm again not making fun, but maybe someone squeaked. Okay, yeah, we're gonna giggle about that as a fan.
Yeah.
If it's with my daughter who actually is paying attention to the game. Okay, they did that play. Do you know why he did that, and so on.
Yeah.
That's a good time. But that's one of the ways that we win in our house. I try to take him with me as much as I can.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a good job, TJ.
Thank you.
Yes, you are.
And thanks for coming on.
Sure.
We
It's
appreciate
kind of
it.
y'all to have me.
Yep. Well, thanks for listening. I think that's episode 42. We'd love to connect with you. So if you haven't checked us out on social media, go ahead and do that. And we'll see you next time. Man, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed hearing us ramble about youth sports or other strangely interesting sports topics related to families, please go and like and subscribe to the show so that you can get regular updates when a new podcast is released. We'd also love to connect with you. Head on over to our socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We're under LC Sports and Recreation.
And if you're new to our podcast, go check out some of our previous episodes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. There's some good stuff on there. And pay attention because these come out pretty quickly, weekly, as a matter of fact. And you're going to learn a lot about what we have to say with regards to our league and how to win with the home team.